Hello, we should be live right now, if I'm not mistaken. No? Maybe? Um... I should be live. There it is. Okay, cool. Alright, cool. So let me just go ahead, pop around, share this around. We're going to be doing, well, as you can probably guess already from looking at the title and everything like that, we're going to be doing some building today. I've got myself the Adeptus Sororitas Combat Patrol, or the Sisters of Battle Combat Patrol, and we're going to have some fun. I'm going to put that together. I've been sitting on getting Sisters of Battle for a really, really long time, because see, the thing with Sisters of Battle is, they're just expensive. So I originally didn't. First of all, 40k is stupid expensive in general. It's too much. I don't actually recommend playing. It's like the most unfortunate thing to me because I love the models. I liked the rules. I'll probably get into that more later. I liked them better before they simplified them. I liked scatter dice. Apparently, I'm the only person, but I really liked scatter dice. But, yeah. What was I thinking? Oh, right. I like the game. I like the models. I like the setting. I think they're all great. I think Games Workshop is a terrible company. Like, it has always been a terrible company. I know there's people right now that are boycotting them for one reason or another. It took them long enough, in my opinion. Like, I'm upset it took them this long to finally start boycotting the company. But, yeah. Yeah, so it just makes me sad. And it's just too expensive. When I was originally looking at getting into 40k too, I wanted to do Sisters because Sisters are really really cool, and also Exorcist Tank. It's one of my favorite models in the whole game, so that was a big reasoning for that. But they were just too expensive at the time. They still didn't have them in plastic. They just had the pewter models, and the pewter models were twice as expensive as everything else at the time. So I ended up getting into the guard instead, and then they released them in plastic, and then I just never got into them because it's expensive. It's really expensive. But I finally stopped procrastinating at the worst possible timing. No, actually, you know what? The timing's not too bad because I saw they're increasing the pricing now, which is just a terrible idea if you ask me. They come in here and they make everybody upset, and now they're seeing people like canceling subscriptions and boycotting and whatnot, and they go, well, let's increase the prices. Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. I just don't. Like, the things are already on a markup, so it's not like they need to increase their prices. They just want to. What I think has happened is that their profit margins took a hit, and so because their profit margins took a hit, they're increasing pricing on everything, which is, hey all. Well, it's good to see you. Um, oh, you know what? I need to jump over and check settings and whatnot. As you can see, I'm still chatting at the camera, not the cam. I'm just chatting right now while kind of sharing my links, setting things up. I'm taking this opportunity to complain about Games Workshop because it's a terrible company. I know, it's ironic. I'm sitting here, I'm going to be building stuff, but I'm going to complain about the company first. Very, yeah, that makes sense. Where is. I'm looking for a thing. I'm having a hard time finding it. Oh, there it is. Here we go. Um. Oh, and I went and re-researched stuff. Oh, hey Genesis, how are you? I went and re-researched some stuff about Sisters of Battle for today, so that I could be sure to not cross too many, not get too many of my points mixed up. I'm probably still gonna mess some stuff up because it's a lot to remember. I'm just sharing my links around right now. I got a post on a. Well, I appreciate it. I just hope you don't get in trouble at work or anything like that. We've got. I shared it the other day. Oh, also, I wanted to say something too. I'm coming through, right? I should be coming through. Ah, gotcha. Nice. By the way, when I was talking about paint schemes and you said I should paint, I was saying I don't necessarily want to do the typical black and red, and you said to do red and black. That's one of the other order colors, by the way. That's the I was just looking at them. Oh, which one was it? The Order of the Bloody Rose, I think it was. Now I'm gonna have to go pull it up because I was literally just looking at them and now I forget what it was. Yeah, I got a page over here with the Age of Apostasy pulled up, the wiki page for it, in case I cross things. Like, for instance, forget the name of the guy who organized the rebellion against Goj Van Dyer, because, again, I was just looking at his name and now I forget what it was. Something Thor. Um, and I got a quote pulled up because I have to have the actual quote pulled up because this is not something I can misquote. It is too beautiful. I'm getting so distracted. Oh, right, my tweet. Okay. This is normally where the starting soon screen. I need to stop bringing that up because I do that every single time. Okay. Alright, now we can switch back over to my actual camera. Actually, I can get my camera back set up, and then we can switch over to my actual camera. But first, I want to pull this up. This is going to bother me. Here we go. Yeah, Order of the Bloody Rose. It is red armor with black cloth. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do for mine. I gotta look into the orders a little bit more as well, because I want to ideally kind of work with the existing stuff to create something original. So the idea, oh, I meant to grab one of my Imperial Guard models too, and I didn't do that. But the idea is I want to have this sort of, and I'll have to do a little bit of research and make sure this is something that works within context. But the idea I have is excuse me, I want a sort of a joint detachment of guard and sisters. So it's a Sisters of Battle army with an attached guard regiment, which I think technically is not lore friendly due to the fact that the reason the Ecclesiarchy uses the Sisters of Battle in the first place is ever since the Age of Apostasy and Goge Van Dyer's Reign of Blood, they were restricted from having men at arms. So they solved that issue by not fielding men. Which I love. I think that's very funny. But I'm sure there's some sort of Imperial loophole that lets me go, nah, I'm just gonna run them together anyway. Tyranids have the most simple lore. Yeah, Bug Eat. I like that lore. Apparently, I heard people mention that apparently they have diplomats now, and I think that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. No, it's not. It's not the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The stupidest thing I've ever heard is Primaris lore. I hate the Primaris, but I digress. Bug Eat is such good lore. They used to have diplomats. They shouldn't have diplomats. Either way, that's so dumb. Gosh, I'll have to look into it, because I don't remember that. That is, like, I would not call myself a lore expert. I know a decent bit about the Age of Apostasy, because the Sisters of Battle are cool. But I don't know a whole lot about that. It's, like, conceptually, they're like this force of nature that just consumes. Why would they ever think that's a good idea? You have barely a clue. I guess that's fair. I like 40k lore. I think it is a very cool setting. Albeit, look at all my little bases. Albeit, it is partially just riffing off of hundreds of other things, including some of their own stuff from Warhammer Fantasy, which Warhammer Fantasy is borrowing from the likes of Tolkien. And, wishing for one sentient termagant. That's a spy with a trench coat and glasses. As hilarious as that is, I don't think that quite makes sense. Okay, what am I looking at? I'm picking through. I'm trying to find the runner that has the regular squad on it. It's kind of a lot to pick through. There we go. I think this is it. This one also has, here's the thing, this is the regular Sisters, I think, but it's also got the Arcoflagellants and the Penitent engine on it. So... are those the Flagellants, or are they... yeah, those are the Arcoflagellants. Well, I think that one might be a... I don't know, it's a lot of pieces. It's a lot of pieces. So, I've got, in this setup, we've got a squad of Sisters. We have only got 4 Repentio, which I think is a really weird number. And then we've got 5 Seraphim, which are very cool. I love the Seraphim. Where did my instruction booklet go? I think I need that. I put it back in the box, didn't I? No. Yes, I did. Uh, where to begin? Where to begin, indeed. This is kind of a mess, just because I'm not sure which parts are which. I realize now. Let me see. So that's 94. 93. Those go together, right? I'm hoping that's a regular. I'm lost. I'm very lost, actually. Wow. Well, this was fun. I will try to have fun. They're normally not this confusing for the very simple matter of normally you just have like one thing on a runner, right? So I'm getting lost as to what parts go with what parts for the very simple matter of like I've got like I think these two go together. Am I stuck to just the same weapon? The arc, that's a piece of an arcoflagellant. I think I'm just going to have to follow the instructions one for this because I don't know what I'm looking at on the runners. You know, normally you just have the one squad in a single box. Oh, that's a wonder. Oh, that's really fun. Look at that. The instructions have a little. These are circles for the bases. That's a little one-to-one diagram so that I can figure out which base is which. That's fun. I think that's. I like that. Look at the same one. Should do one small. There's the smaller one. I actually love these bases, by the way. I need to look on their website. They reformatted their website, and I hate it. But they used to sell. Look at that. That's cool. Anyway, they used to sell the bases in like big old in bulk, and you could just get a whole bulk set of the bases. And I need to figure out if I can still do that because I want them for other stuff. I want to rebase like D&D miniatures on these because I love these bases. They're nice and sturdy, and they've got that nice rise to them. I have not found another miniature base that is as nice as these. I love these, but yeah, I don't know if they sell them in bulk anymore after they restructured everything. I hope they do. I hope they do. Okay, let me see here. I don't really want to follow the instructions for the letter, to the letter. Now, you know what? To be fair, I'm not quite sure what kind of war gear options they've even given me on these runners since these are atypical. I was about to say I don't really want to follow it to the letter because I want the ability to do my own thing with some of it. Yeah, this is the cannon. It's cool. We're going to start here then. This is the first thing they've got on the list here. We're going to start with the Canonist, which should all be on this runner here. And look, like, this is what I mean with, like, when you normally see some of these. Like, this is no different than a regular Canonist runner. So it's just the one model. So this I could put together without aid from the instructions, because this stuff is genuinely really straightforward for the most part. Until you get to stuff that has, like, weird war gear options and whatnot, or like vehicles. Vehicles are a bit tricky, but like guard are easy to put together. Ooh, I saw they have new guard models. Speaking of which, they've got. Well, I don't know how new they are. I think they actually came out a while ago at this point. But they've got guard models. They are Arcadian shock troopers. But they've got It's new models. They've got like new helmets. They've got like backpacks on them, stuff like that. They're very cool. I think they are quite nice. Kind of want one. I'm scared to cut this piece. You can see the bit where it attaches to the actual model is very thick. And I'm very worried about clipping the wrong part here and damaging the actual foot. I don't think I did. No, that should be fine. Ooh! She's got a plasma pistol. That's a plasma pistol on the inside of her cape. That's awesome. Plasma pistols are fun. You know, they made plasma pistols much easier in the new rules, too. I like my old rules. Plasma pistols, you have the option now of overcharging or not. Unless I'm mistaken, that didn't used to be an option. And overcharge is more powerful, but it has the risk of exploding. Old rules, you just had risk of exploding always. So they were a much higher risk weapon before. They've made them a little less dangerous. I was watching guys at my local game store play the other day, and it was really interesting because we had one guy who was guard player, and then the other guy was running knights. And I don't think I'd ever seen that before. I don't know anybody that ran Imperial Knights before. Like, I have a friend who does Space Wolves. I've got a friend who does Orcs. I had a friend who played, did he run Necrons? I think he ran Necrons. Yeah, I had a Necron. I think I had a Nid player. I remember him running Genestealers at one point. I can't remember if it was his main thing or if he was just running Genestealers for a match or something like that. Is that a Robo-Lag? That is, in fact, a Robo-Lag. Neat. And that reminds me, I've seen people in Helldivers with server now we got Necrons, Tyranids, Grey Knights, Space Marines, and Custodes. Nice. That's a lot. Necrons are cool. I like Necrons. Nids are cool. I hate... That's not true. I don't hate Space Marines. Very important question. What chapter of Space Marines? Custodes are okay. I do like Custodes, actually. Custodes are pretty cool. Because I don't... I think it is not actually fair to say I don't like Ultramarines, but it would be very fair to say that Ultramarines are the single most overrated faction in the entire game. It's honestly, it's kind of disappointing. Games Workshop just makes too much for them. I gotta tag Zantet. Okay. I'll go ahead and do that. I like Space Wolves. I also like Salamanders. Salamanders like flamethrowers. And I like flamethrowers. You know who else likes flamethrowers? The Sisters of Battle like flamethrowers. The Sisters of Battle really like flamethrowers. It is part of their holy trinity of arms. It's the Bolter, the Flamer, and the Melta. which are pretty great weapons. That said, they made flamers less great, which I'm not happy about. When they changed the rules for them around. I miss my templates. My templates were very fun. I guess technically they're not actually. So, by foregoing the templates, they're in an interesting position where against smaller armies, they're better than they were, and against larger armies, they're worse than they were. Because the template used to go place it over top of your enemy, and whatever was under the template gets hit. Which means you could potentially get a lot of hits with the flamers, and you can't do that anymore. Because it's now a random die roll. It's I think it's, I don't remember if it's D6 hits or if it's D3 hits, but it's one of the two. But, in being a die roll now, that also means if you're attacking one target, it gets more hits than it used to. Well, it gets potentially more hits than it used to. But it makes them a lot less predictable. It makes them a lot more less consistent, and it makes them not as good against horde armies as they used to be. So I don't really like it. I do like heavy weapons no longer attacking second, though, because that means my Repentia are better than they used to be. But yeah, sisters are cool. I like their whole backstory and lore, where they came from. Because they started off. So the Emperor visited a lot of planets, right? During his whole crusade across the stars. And his influence after he well basically died, right? His influence resulted in a whole bunch of fractured cults and orders and whatnot. On one of these planets, we ended up with this group of essentially warrior nuns that I believe were originally called the Daughters of the Emperor, which is essentially proto Sisters of Battle before they were picked up by the ecclesiarchy during the Age of Apostasy. It's one of my favorite bits of 40k lore. I am trying to talk and focus on little fine details at the same time. I'm distracting myself on both fronts. It's great. But yeah. The Age of Apostasy is really interesting. So we had this individual, Goj Van Dyer, who essentially he led a coup. Long story very short, and managed to take over both the ruling faction, like the governing faction, and the religious faction of the Imperium all at once. And that allowed him to have pretty much complete power over the Imperium in what would later be referred to as the Age of Blood. Called such because he executed a lot of people. He executed basically all of his political adversaries. He would execute anybody that he just didn't like. people did not give him the proper praise he thought he deserved, he would put them to death. It was a good time. So yeah, Ghost Van Dyer is cool. Cool and like, but not cool, right? Yeah. But where do I continue on with that? Because there's technically a lot. It's funny. There's technically a whole lot that I can talk about with the whole um, apostasy, the age of apostasy and whatnot, because it is a huge chunk of imperial history. But it's like, how much of it is relevant? How much of it do I really want to go into? Because I should probably, if I really want to talk about it, I should do a proper, like, deep dive into it and research it properly so that I can give a proper explanation of everything. A little fleur de lis. I like the fleur de lis. I think it is a very pretty icon. There's a lot of fleur de lis used on Sisters of Battle iconography, which I quite like. Actually, come to think of it, that might be a contributing factor into why I like the Sisters of Battle aesthetic as much as I do, because there's a lot of fleur de lis there, and I quite like those. Oh man, now I'm sad I don't have one of my guards with me, because I wanted to pull that out and show off the color palette to that, but I've got them in the other room, and I don't really want to go up and go grab them now. I like my guard. Guard is one of my favorite factions. I like the sisters, they're my favorite faction, but second to that is the guard. I like the guard because they're the just the basic boots on the ground sort of guys, and I quite like that. In a setting where you've got like superhumans and all sorts of crazy stuff, just having the basic boots on the ground dudes, I like that. I especially like the Krieg. I think Krieg are cool, partially because visually they're just fantastic. But once you dig into them and you start looking into their whole backstory and whatnot, or the lore behind the faction, it's very cool. Albeit terrible, because everything in 40k is terrible. Yeah, there are pretty much, anyway, no good guys within the 40k universe. Except maybe Commander Farsight. I like Farsight. Farsight is cool. I think I should maybe start gluing some stuff together here. Just some of the stuff I've finished working on already. You know, to give it time to dry before working on other pieces. If I can figure out how they're supposed to fit together. Like that, okay. Gosh, it's been a while since I've done any of this kind of stuff. I'm suddenly kind of nervous about my abilities to glue things properly. Also gotta make sure, yeah, it's still gonna work, be fine. Okay, cool. I don't get a lot of time to really sit down and do this kind of stuff anymore. I think the last time I was working with 40k miniatures specifically was I have some of the, ooh, that was a little too much. I have some of the Aeronautica Imperialis stuff, which I gotta look into because I'm not sure they still sell that. Which would make me quite upset, actually, because I thought it looked really cool. But I've got one of the box sets for the Aeronautica Imperialis, game. It's Tau and Imperium. And I think that was the last time I've worked with miniatures in general. Even outside of 40K miniatures and whatnot, I've got some what's it called? Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff to work on. I have an X-Men team that needs assembling. But I have just not gotten the time to do it. Game's fun though. Crisis Protocol. It is not bad. It's smaller skirmish-based type stuff, which reminds me I need to actually put together some Kill Team stuff as well. I would like to try Kill Team. I don't know if anybody really, or let me phrase that. I don't know if anybody in my local space really plays Kill Team. To be fair, I don't know if there's a lot of guys in my local place that play 40K either. I've seen two guys. It's the same two guys I mentioned before, and that's it. Actually, I do know one other guy that does. Because he wanted to play with me a while back, so I should actually put together my stuff and figure out what my points look like. Oh, I gotta get like new rules and whatnot to play though. I don't have any of the codexes or anything, so I gotta look into that. Figure out how my like army is supposed to be set up. Because there's rules for properly putting together an army, like which units you get to take and whatnot, and I don't know them. I also don't know, what is it, stratagems, I think they were called? I know nothing about that at all, so. Because they're not in the indexes. Big old indexes they put out when they made. When they changed all the rules, they put out their indexes, which basically had the stat blocks, or not basically, had the stat blocks for everything in the particular factions it highlights. And I somewhere have the one for the forces of the Imperium. But I don't have any of the indexes, or codexes, sorry. So it leaves me a little bit limited on what I can actually do. So I'm gonna have to fix that. I also gotta get, well, I gotta get Farsight's model. Farsight's great. I gotta get the, well, I want a Hospitaller as well. I think my game shop has one, so I need to grab that. And then there's the Triumph of St. Catherine, which is a very cool model. It is a funeral procession, essentially, that is parading around the remains of St. Catherine. Very cool looking model. So I want to pick that one up. And of course, Celestine. Because Celestine is one of the greatest models ever. So I need that one. I am scared of Celestine's model, though. that. I'm a little scared of this piece. Let me rephrase that. I am very scared of this piece. Ooh, this piece is making me nervous. So yeah, it attaches like that. Right? I'm gonna have to make sure the feet are like level, right? Oh, I don't like that. $40K. It's a little bit more complex than a Gunpla kit. Or more accurately, because they don't snap into place, they're just a little bit more fiddly. I think that's the best way to put it. There's a lot more room for error with a 40K kit than Gunpla kit. So with a Gunpla kit, you put it in place, it snaps in place, you're good to go. Here, I can literally destroy my model by over-applying glue. So you got to be a lot more careful. It's a lot more delicate. It's something I actually appreciate about Gunpla models. I think they're very fun casual builds, which I know some people are going to say that that's not the case for certain ones when you get into like some of the higher grade stuff, which I can't argue. I have built one real grade. I thought it was great. It was a lot of fun. It was the first one I ever put together, but I only ever did one. So in terms of like complexity of higher grade kits and whatnot, that is something I have limited experience with. Some experience, but limited experience with. I just know that these scare me because they are fiddly. And very expensive. That's the other kicker. They are so expensive. Oh, good. Nice. That does what it needs to do. Cool. I'm setting that down then. We're gonna leave that alone. We're gonna work on some more of these pieces. These pieces are so tiny. Look how tiny it is. These are fun to paint, by the way. When you decide, oh, let's paint the eyes, and then you go in there, oh my gosh. Painting eyes is the worst. My guard actually still don't have painted eyes. You know, the three I actually started painting. I need to get back to that. I need to find my paints. What can I say? Painting's fun. I do quite like. I think I need to replace that bottle, but they have. Well, now I don't remember what the paint was called. I think it was Blood for the Blood God. I think that was the name of it. But anyway, it's a technical paint that dries glossy and is a deep red, so it looks like fresh blood. It is one of my favorite paints. You can do so much great 40K paint work with that. I have used it not sparingly on the other models I have done. Well, I say not sparingly, like I made them absolutely horrific. I did not do that, but I made sure to make good use of it. because 40K is not a clean setting. It's sort of like Viscera is very commonplace. It's part of why I want to paint flayed ones too. Flayed ones are cool because they skin people. They skin people and then have the skins attached to them. I need to look into the flaying virus a little bit more though, because I have now heard a couple different things for what it is and am confused. So I'm gonna have to look that up. Oh, you know what? I should pull something up real quick. Let me see. Some people don't like to watch their active viewer counts. I actually do. Move stuff around for a minute. Whoops. Hopefully this doesn't tank. I'll close this if it tanks my stuff, but I would like to pull up my stuff here. See where I'm at. Cool, good to know. Alright, there we go. Oh. I heard my phone buzz and I went to grab it and remembered that it's currently my camera. That's my phone. So I can't grab it. Oh, sad. Okay. Do I want to continue on the Age of Apostasy? Yes, I do, actually. So anyway, yeah, Gosh Van Dyer in his Reign of Blood. He seized control of pretty much the entire Imperium, and then he was a horrible dictator, essentially. Unsurprisingly. Anyway, he heard about this planet where there was a group of religious warriors in the name of the Emperor, essentially. And he goes. And so, one of the things he liked to do when he would go off to planets is he would demand these, like, parades in his honor at penalty of death to the individuals if they did not grant his wishes. And he showed up there with his demands as per usual. My throat's getting a little dry. Give me a second. And so he shows up and he gets this big old parade and he parades himself right up to the essentially the monastery. No, I was working on this, wasn't I? Yes, I was. And he gets stopped at the gates by it's one of the named characters, Alicia Dominica of the what is currently the Daughters of the Emperor, is what they're called at this point. And she bars him from entry to their holy grounds, right? And so he's got this little planet. And oh, and this is important too, right? So their planet is currently it's behind the Imperium in terms of tech. So this is after a whole lot of stuff happened. The Empire is kind of fractured. It's not perfectly connected. I'm pretty sure it's still not perfectly connected because we had the Emperor's Great Crusades, and then we had the Horus Heresy kind of fractured everything, and then everything was cut off from each other. I'm trying to remember what happened. No, everything was cut off, and then Horus Heresy happened. Yeah, that's what happened. I need to brush up on my lore a little bit, because my timeline is a little bit confused. But the result, essentially, is that you have a bunch of planets at varying levels of tech and understanding of what the Imperium is capable of. And this was one of those planets that was lower on the tech scale compared to the Imperium at large, right? Important for what I'm about to talk about. He comes up with this idea that of how to sway them, right? And he tells her to. Is that right? Is that what does he tell her to do it? Anyways, what essentially happens is I can't quite remember if he tells her to do this or if she just does this, but she ends up shooting him, right? And to prove, and the bullet is redirected away from him. It bounces off of an invisible barrier in front of him, and he uses this as proof of his divine influence in that he is the voice of the Emperor himself. In reality, what he had is he was carrying a force field generator. He was carrying a Rosarius on his person. So essentially, he succeeded his invuln save. But they didn't know this. They didn't know what that was. And so they accepted him as the voice of the Emperor and allowed him entrance into their temple. He then essentially, long story short, absorbs, or their monastery, I should say, he absorbs the Sisters of Battle. Or, they're not the Sisters of Battle yet. He absorbs the Daughters of the Emperor into the Ecclesiarchy and renames them to the Brides of the Emperor, and proceeds to use them as his personal bodyguards and warriors alongside the regular forces of the Ecclesiarchy at the time. And they continue to fight under him throughout the entirety of his reign of blood, fiercely loyal, believing that he is a divine voice of the Emperor, believing that he does speak with the Emperor's authority itself. And this continues for a while, with Gosh Van Dyer leading an absolute reign of terror across the Imperium. And that's when we get into the other guy that I kind of forget the name of. I'm going to have to pull up his name real quick. It was something Thor. But I don't quite remember. Let me see here. I've got the wiki page pulled up for this exact reason, so that when I forget things, I can pull them up. Let me see. Reign of Blood. Where is... Alicia Dominica is very cool. Where was... It was in here somewhere. It was in here somewhere. Where'd it go? What was his name? I don't remember the guy's name. Oh no. Okay, here we go. Sebastian Thor. I should have remembered that. Sebastian Thor, who was a preacher of the the imperial truth, the word of the emperor, the imperial cult. And he renounced Goge Van Dyer. But despite his attempts, Goge could not assassinate the individual, partially because a lot of the assassins he sent to take him out ended up being swayed by his teachings and joined his cause. And they helped protect him against Goge Van Dyer's attacks. Eventually, long story very shortened, right? He ends up with this fighting force behind him that goes to Terra to besiege the ecclesiarchy and take Goge Van Dyer off his throne. And they are repelled by a massive force headed by what would be the Sisters of Battle. So we have this. Oh, and also there were Space Marines there. So he's got this huge fighting force. He's got this force that's a combination of a bunch of people, including the tech priests and a couple chapters of the Space Marines. According to the wiki here, it is the Imperial Fists, Firehawks, Soul Drinkers, and Black Templars, alongside tech priests as well, are leading this siege of Terra to try and retake the ecclesiarchy from the hands of Goge Van Dyer, and they are being held off by this massive fighting force of Templars and what is currently referred to as the Brides of the Emperor. Later, we would know these as the Sisters of Battle, but at this time, they had not quite taken that identity, right? And so, this goes on for a while without them being able to take any ground, until eventually the Custodes actually do something. Because here's the funny thing, right? So right now, we see the Custodes running around and actually doing stuff. We have models for them and whatnot, right? But for a long time, they were just sitting in the throne room because their primary purpose, they are the Emperor's bodyguards. Their only real concern is the protection of the Emperor himself. So they guard the Golden Throne, and they live within the Imperial Palace, and they really don't leave. Or didn't leave. I don't know the full reasons for why they're out and about now, but it means that we get Custodes models, so that's pretty cool. The Emperor's Golden Boys. But they finally step in, and one of them goes out. It's like a high-ranking individual, right? And he goes out and he speaks with the Space Marines to figure out what's going on. Having an understanding, being brought up to speed on the conflict and why it's being waged, he goes in and meets with Alicia Dominica and her... What would you call them at this point? They're the individual that end up becoming the matriarchs of the different orders. But at this point, I think the wiki just describes them as like her guards or something. At this point. But he explains the situation to her, and she does not believe him at first. And so he, leaving up several of his warriors as hostages within the hands of the sisters, he takes her before the Golden Throne itself, before the Emperor itself. And there are no records of what transpired within that room. All we know is that after a period of time, she came out with her hair turned bleach white and the fire of rage and vengeance in her eyes as she then marched up to Goge Van Dyer. And this is why I had to actually write down the quotes that I had it on hand because this is one of the greatest quotes in all of 40K, and to misquote it is a crime. But she marches up to Van Dyer, and give me a second while I pull out this quote. We get the absolute beautiful line here. Da-da-da-dum. Let me see. You have committed the ultimate heresy. Not only have you turned your back on the Emperor and stepped from his light, you have profaned his name and almost destroyed everything he has striven to build. You have perverted and twisted the path he has laid for mankind to tread. As your own decrees have stated, there can be no mercy for such a crime, no pity for such a criminal. I renounce your lordship. You walk in the darkness and cannot be allowed to live. Your sentence has been long overdue, and now it is time for you to die. And to this declaration, Goge Van Dyer looks at her in confusion, shakes his head, and responds, I don't have time to die. I'm too busy. And that is the greatest combination of lines ever written for fiction. And then she cuts his head off. I love the Age of Apostasy. It's absolutely fantastic. And anyway, now the Ecclesiarchy is not allowed to have men at arms because of all that. But it can still send the Sisters of Battle to fight because they're not men. I do love, too, that so we all love the huge galactic battles and whatnot of 40K and the extraterrestrial, like, or the Xenos, I guess I should call them, the Xenos threats and whatnot. Like, the Tyranids are fantastic. Tyranids are great. But I really do like the Age of Apostasy for being a period of strife contained within the Imperium itself. It is mankind fighting against mankind. And that's just fun. But yeah, that's the SparkNotes version of the Age of Apostasy. It is a very cool piece of galactic history. That's kind of just a summary of some of the stuff that happens in it. I really should like read up on it more in depth. I was reading up on it like to so that I had some background to brush up on my background information so that I could tell about it a little bit, right? For today. And I kind of sat back and went, "Man, I need to like actually read up on this stuff and maybe do like a proper video on it because this stuff is very cool." Like, I'm not sure I want to like become a lore channel or anything like that, but highlighting a couple like really cool things is, I mean, it's really cool things. Yeah, I love the Age of Apostasy. Of course, I think I just enjoy the ideas of like religious corruption in their entirety. You get a lot of really cool stories out of that. It's also why I like some of the Devil May Cry stuff. Devil May Cry is very cool with that sort of theme. The current state of 40k is very funny, though, because this is not what the Emperor wanted. The Emperor was actually very against religion. He didn't envision himself as a god. That wasn't his purpose when he took over Terra. He actually destroyed all of the churches of Terra as part of his. I do not remember what they called his war on Earth. But yeah, he did not believe in the religious ideologies of Earth. And that was part of the thing he got rid of in his crusading. And the irony of him then becoming the god of the new world he created, when he explicitly set out to destroy such beliefs. It's quite funny. And it's kind of his fault. Honestly, he's the one running around in golden armor with like a rune engraved sword with his flowing hair and halos behind him. And he's like, I'm not a god though, guys. I'm a human just like you. Ignore the fact that I'm a being created through the souls of hundreds of psychers that committed ritual suicide. 40k lore is wild. Classic Warhammer lore is also wild. I quite like classic Warhammer. I'm very glad we have the old world coming up. Because I like the old world. I think the old world is cooler than Age of Sigmar. Nobody likes Age of Sigmar. None of my homies like Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar is Gerbo. So I'm glad to see the old world return. Apparently, it's doing really well too, which is completely unsurprising to me, considering that they launched it with a fan favorite faction that had not been in the game for years. They weren't even making. Sorry, I had to focus there. The Tomb Kings. They weren't even making Tomb Kings back when they originally destroyed fantasy. When they introduced the end times. So yeah, they reintroduce classic fantasy with a faction people had wanted to see back since before they even went on the Age of Sigmar train. Of course, it sold really well. That was all tactically designed. They did that with intent. I am so glad to see this model. It looks. Very happy to see this coming to fruition. Let's get her head put on next. Ooh. That bubbled up in a way I wasn't expecting. Okay, that should be plenty. There we go. Oh no, I think that was actually way too much. Ah. As I said, you have to be very careful. I was not careful enough. Should be alright, but... So the thing with plastic glue, with these plastic glues, is they kind of... They melt. They melt the plastic. So if you do too much, you completely destroy the model. It's scary. It's genuinely pretty scary. And then if you like touch it, I've done this before where I've like bumped a piece that was still setting, and then I get this strand of plastic. It's very unpleasant. And we do not like. You know what else I've destroyed models with? Um. Ah, oh, no, we don't like that. Oh, I'm gonna have to clean that off the bottle now. Alright, I'm gonna have to stand up in a second. Let me get this on here. Should have had paper towels on hand for this exact kind of thing. Alright, give me 1 second. Paper towels are now on hand. Where did my headphones go? There they are. Okay. Oh boy, it has been over an hour, and we have managed most of a single model. Let's go. Yeah, this is why I don't take more time to do this stuff. I genuinely love it. I'm having so much fun. But I just take forever. Alright, how does this one fit on? Like that. Okay. And as I talked about with my Gunpla stuff and whatnot, the reason for that is more just me going through and like carefully cleaning up mold lines and stuff like that. It's double so for this stuff though. With Gunpla kits, the mold lines I found to be not too bad, but these, they get really nasty mold lines and whatnot. And of course, with having to glue these on instead of them snapping in place, that's a whole nother layer of delicate craftsmanship that goes into it, which I love. I enjoy this. But it does mean that it takes a really long time. I was actually thinking of starting the stream earlier in the day for that exact reason, and now I'm really wishing I had. Oh no. Case in point about the careful craftsmanship. That's not flush. This is a tricky piece to get flush because of how it's just connected on that front portion. The rest is loose. Or the top portion, I mean. Oh, that doesn't want to stay. Maybe I didn't use enough glue this time. Ironic. It's probably just still wet is the problem. Oh, it's going to be really bothering me, though, if I can't keep it flush. Yeah, but see how all that's hanging loose? It's making it really hard for me to get it in position. Sorry for the silence, I'm just focusing on what I'm doing here. Whew. Should be all right. There we go. Now we just got to get her based. 32 millimeter base. Let me see here. One of you, right? Yes, it's one of you. That's a big base. Get some glue on her feet. Wow, this stuff is very strong. You do not need a lot of glue. I've seen people like absolutely drench their models in glue. And it's like you really don't need to do that. If you see it bubbling at all from like any surface you've put it on, you've put on too much glue. You just need little dabs, and then this stuff just cements. You know, it sets pretty quick, but you're going to want to leave it as untouched as possible for a while, just to be sure, because you do not at all want this stuff like coming off. Oh, like that. Oh no. Ironically, I'm pretty sure I put more glue on that foot. And it's the one that doesn't want to stay. We're gonna put her to the side and not touch her while that's all cementing and doing its thing. Yeah, so as I said, it's been a little bit. But yeah, like I was saying though, you don't want to move a piece as it's trying to cement, because as I was mentioning before about how it like melts the plastic into place, if you start like moving it around, you end up with it like smearing blobs of plastic around and whatnot, and it's weird. you end up with weird bubbling or like these strands coming off of it. You really don't want that stuff shifting while it's trying to set. Okay. Now we can start on the sisters. It's telling me it's on A. I don't know which runners are A because they don't tell me. Not as far as I can tell, anyway. Let me see. M. Oh, there it is. Never mind. I found it. I was pretty sure this was A anyway, but still. 89. 89? 89 and 88? Yeah. So, like, this corner down here of the runner. Man, I would hate to just get, like, 2 models done and be like, well, that's it for today, but, like, it's already been over an hour. I might only get 2 models done. Honestly, this is, like, the pace I work, though. I kinda should have known this was coming. This is normal for me, even without distractions. Clip. I am really excited to have Sisters, though. I love the Sisters of Battle. I still want to see if I can get a hold of some of the pewter models, because I love the old metal. Oh, it's so nice. Like, I understand the issues with metal. I know it's harder to work with, and a lot of the sculpts haven't aged well, and all that. But, you know, I just like that they feel like you can throw them at your friend and break their nose. You know? It's really nice to have that heft behind a model. It's so nice. Like, plastic is easier to paint, it's easier to work with, the glue set's better, all that. But I just like metal. Metal's nice, man. Oof. You know, I probably have to replace my nippers, I bet you. Probably like all I've had these for years. Okay. That's the main body. I love Sister's armor. I love their armor. Their helmets. Oh, their helmets are so nice. Where are the heads? Where are the heads? Oh, there's some. Yeah, that's a couple of the heads. Let me see. There's a helmeted one right there. I don't think I'll be able to show it off in a way that really shows it. Oh, well, I don't think the camera really wants to focus on it anyway. Yeah, that's not working. Oh, well. I love their helmets, though. I only see one helmeted head on here? Oh, gosh. Oh, that's the guy on the Penitent engine. Oh. That's a lot of tubes. Anyways. We love Penitent engines. Penitent engines are nice. Alright, let me see here. That is a Repentia piece. That is a Repentia piece. 90. Where's 90? Right over there. It's on the other... See, this is why I'm following the instructions. Her chainsword is on the other side of the runner. I've also got, like, bits of Repentia, and I'm pretty sure... Yeah, that's the Flagellants, I'm pretty sure. So, Arcoflagellants and Repentia, and that's the whip. Yeah. Bits and bobs from other things all over the place. Okay. 92 and 1. I don't think the heads matter too much, right? The heads should be pretty compatible. 90, 69 for oh, of course, and these aren't even laid out like next to each other properly because there's 90 and then there's 84 and then there's 81. Where's 91? Well, there's 96. That doesn't go on here. 92. 92 is one of the heads. 92 is that head. Yeah, I think the heads should be pretty universally compatible. Looks like they've got the same little block connector, or little peg, I guess. Whatever you want to call it. Oh. I do kind of wish right now that I had these on regular runners, just that I could see the pieces, the individual pieces and whatnot, and better piece together how the models are supposed to work and whatnot, instead of having to follow the instructions. But this is what happens, I guess, when you buy Combat Patrols. And I'm just going to have to deal with it. I'm super excited, though, that I have a Penitent engine. Penitent engines are very cool. Where is 91? 96, 99. It's one of the backpacks. Where is her backpack? What are you? Are you another piece for an Argo? You have horns? What are you? I don't know what this is. Anyways, getting less distracted by that. Where is your backpack? Oh, there it is. They should all be pretty much the same, right? No, wait, no, it's not. Not technically, anyway. That one is. Yeah. Oh, they're not quite the same. They're slightly different. This is where I'm not sure if it matters, too, because there's slightly different iconography on them, and I'm not quite sure why that is, so it might be relevant. It might be very important, actually. But I'm not completely certain. Looks like she's got Inquisition emblems on her, which is interesting. The Inquisition are cool. Obviously, the Inquisition travels around the galaxy and puts a stop to heresy by blowing stuff up and burning things and, whatever else they need to do. Sometimes they blow up a planet. Exterminatus is fun. Man, I love their armor. I'm really appreciating their armor more working with the models. Because look at the way it separates right here. You've got a clear little separation right here between the front plate and the rear plate of the this piece here. I'm blanking on what that is. I don't remember. The greaves, I believe. I believe that's what this is. Yeah, these are greaves. I think. Anyway, it's very nice armor. I like their armor. Their power armor is very cool. I think it looks nicer than Space Marine armor. I think it especially looks nicer than Primaris armor. We don't like the Primaris. Primaris are gross. They're ugly. Primaris are ugly and stupid. We don't like them. They don't make sense. And they're an excuse to sell you an entirely new faction of Ultramarines. Like, we get enough Ultramarines. We don't need more Ultramarines. Ultramarines are lame. Sisters of Battle are cooler than Ultramarines. I kind of want Imperial Knights, though. Imperial Knights are cool. They're expensive, though, so I don't want them. That's what a lot of it boils down to. It's like, I would want this if it weren't really expensive. So, I don't buy it. Usually. Sometimes I treat myself and I go, ooh, maybe we'll buy one Sisters of Battle Combat Patrol, you know, as a treat. You know, just as a treat. You know? We can have one combat patrol as a treat. Man, I already talked about the Age of Apostasy. I guess I could probably go into more detail. No, I can't. I have to do some real research before I can go into more detail, which I would like to do, actually, because it is a fun era of Imperial history. Gosh Van Dyer was not a good person. Yeah, I think we're just gonna wrap up this model here and then call it quits for today. I'll save the rest for stream. Maybe we can get into it quicker next time. You know what? I should slot a larger space of time next time so that we can get more done in... Get more of them done, I guess I should say. Man, I got so many hot takes. I'm going to save them for other streams, though. But I got so many hot takes about Games Workshop. I'm not even sure if they're hot takes, I'm going to be honest. I'm pretty sure most of my takes are ones that most people agree with anyway. Like, for instance, 40k is actually a scam, and you shouldn't give them your money for it. You know, the way the game is structured, it's barely a game, especially now that they've minimized the rules, and it's more of an excuse for you to spend money on things that are really overpriced. I don't think that's a hot take. I'm pretty sure most people agree with that. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's a joke among the community that their game is a scam. So, this is what I'm talking about. I don't think the camera's going to pick this up, but this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about the mold lines and whatnot. They are very visible right here. They are these big, noticeable lines across the entire model, and I don't like that. So I come in here and I take the time to carefully smooth this stuff out, make the curved edges actually curved. And the nice thing about Games Workshop plastic is it is a nice soft plastic. So it is really easy to just scrape those lines down with the edge of a hobby knife to get that nice, smooth, rounded edge to the armor. Like that. You do have to be a little bit careful because, like, this is a prime example of that. Even you've got a lot of these, you've got these very tiny, sharp edges here, or angles, really. I think sharp edge isn't quite right, but you've got these angles. See right here, right? There's an angle right there because it's a segmented armor plate, right? Or armored shoe, right? So it's separated into 1, 2, 3 plates right there. So I gotta be careful not to file down those individual plates because they're very small. It's hard to even tell that they're segments at all. But I can boost that with paintwork once we get down to it. So it's you got to be really careful and be really observant over what on your model is mold line and what on your model is detail. If you're gonna do what I do here and really take the time to file it down. Also, get yourself a pair of files instead of using a hobby knife. Honestly, that's probably the better call. They make tiny files for this exact purpose, and I've talked about this numerous times, and I'm gonna continue to use my hobby knife because it's what I do. I live life dangerously. I live life foolishly. Okay, we're good on that. I stretch. Ugh. Ugh. Do. Am I the only person watching myself? That's kind of sad. Oh well, we're gonna continue anyway. Oh. Oh boy, here's a nasty little bit of little. I don't know. I don't know what you'd call it. Stuff that we're going to cut off because it is not detailing. It is a result of the runner. So there we go. Filed that down nicely. All right. Whoops. Gotta be careful. I don't want to hurt myself. I probably need to replace this blade, honestly. I should have a pack of extra blades somewhere. I gotta go find that. I think it's in my case with my other minis. There we go. That's much nicer. That's a nice smooth surface. It's really easy to go overboard, again, because that plastic is as soft as it is. It makes it very easy for you to do this, but it also makes it very easy to go overboard with it. Also, using your nail to like clean up some of the stuff, very good idea. Also, check with your thumbnail. If you can smoothly ride your thumbnail over a surface, you're good. You're done. When you ride your thumbnail over it and it catches on something, that's your cue to take your scalpel to it, so to speak. This is another bit from the spruce. Or the runner, whatever you want to call it. There we go. Nice and smooth surface now. I have noticed a lot of the modern models, I feel like, try to keep the reliefs along like edges. Like right along here, they've got the mold release right along this surface. So because it's on an edge, you don't really notice it. You don't really have to work on getting rid of it. And then, of course, I get in here, and it starts to get really tricky to smooth it out. Requires just a little bit of work. There we go. That looks lovely. Okay. Yeah, I see you there. And this is one of those tricky spots too, because there is a line right there, but there's also cloth detailing. So it like ripples right in here as well. Something to be careful with while you are working on it. There we go. Probably just move on to the next bit, because that should be alright. Yeah, that should be alright. Okay. Bolt guns are nice for this. They are fairly smooth, flat surfaces. Pretty easy to see what you're doing. Pretty easy to spot what it is you need to work on and then work on it. Very straightforward, which is nice, especially coming off of fabric. Fabric is not straightforward. There we go. Oh, big thing with these two, when you get into dry brushing, all these little reliefs and whatnot, oh, they start to stand out. That's what dry brushing is great at, is making all those little details stand out. And when you've got a whole bunch of little reliefs from your mold, those are going to stand out too. So you really probably should go through and do at least a little bit of this with these guys. Because otherwise you're going to notice. You're going to notice it when you get into painting. At least I notice it when I get into painting. Maybe other people don't. Maybe this is just me being a little silly. I love bolt guns. Bolt guns are cool. Bolt guns are wild. So it is a gun that fires a rocket propelled projectile that explodes after impact on a target. Bolt guns are crazy. Oh, this is going to be a pain. See, this is what your file is good for if you have it. Because this is such a weird angle to get at, but I can clearly see the amount of work that needs to be done on this segment here. But I, once again, have to be really careful to not destroy the detailing on this, because that's a ribbed surface. And just scraping across the top there can very easily destroy said surface. So that's a tricky one. I get the feeling I'm going to be dealing with a lot of these. And that's the hand guard. But They all kind of have one of these on their bolt gun. Yeah, it looks like it. So this will be fun. It actually will be. I say that like I'm being sarcastic, but... Man, I wish I could have a bolt gun. Go blow up some Xenos with it. Alright, I think I'm going to leave it there. There's technically more work I can do in here, but we're getting to a point where I've got very little knife room to maneuver anyway, so... I say and then keep working. Let's put that down. I did this, right? Yeah, I did that one. Okay. Those two are done. I'm going to go ahead and glue these together, actually. Ooh. Also, my recommendation, check where it's actually connecting. Before you glue anything, check it. See where it's supposed to click together. Or fit together, I guess is the correct way to say that. And once you've got an idea for that, you can go through and decide where to put your glue. Because you do not want to put a whole bunch of glue on here on places that are not going to actually be touching the other side of the model. Oh, that's too much. What? There we go. Because all that's going to do is leave you with blemishes if you start just willy-nilly applying glue everywhere. You do want to make sure there's plenty on the parts that do connect. But otherwise, you want to be careful with it. Your glue is expensive and dangerous. You can easily completely destroy your model. And again, it ain't cheap glue either, so be careful with it. Let's set you down for now while we work on your other pieces. This is going to take a while. Remember, there's 10 of these. And that's one. We're almost done with one. That scared me. This is an interesting one. I'm not really super used to hair. Because my other stuff is all guard. And guards wear helmets. So yeah, I'm not used to hair. I gotta be careful. Because I don't want to mess it up as hair. Oh, I gotta check and see if I have primer still. I'm actually not sure. I think I do. I'm not completely sure. I have to look around for that. Been a while since I've done any painting, but I should still have some primer floating around from my guard. Yeah, I gotta pick up all my colors too, I guess. Okay. That ought to be good. Let's go ahead and glue you in place. Let me see, how do you want to sit? Be set. You want to be set like that. Okay. No, I don't think I'm going to do the opposite this time. Because this way I can better see how much glue I'm using. That was the problem last time. It doesn't want to sit properly, though. Oh, there he goes. Awesome. Nice. Maybe the heads are not super versatile, actually, because that is lining up, like, perfectly with the armor. Oh, well. I like the ability to swap different heads and whatnot, so ideally I want more versatile sculpts and whatnot. That's one of the fun things with Cadians. Cadians are very versatile. You slap all sorts of things, all sorts of places. Oh yeah, part of why I'm hoping they still sell their bulk bases though. I want to make scrap tokens for Gorka Morka using extra bits and pieces from runners and strapping them all together on top of bases to differentiate them as actual tokens. Apart from, I want to rebase other games, minis onto Citadel bases and stuff like that. I really do like the bases. I might have to check and make sure it's not a problem for certain games. It shouldn't be an issue. But for some things it might affect things like line of sight. Shouldn't be an issue at all for something like D&D, but I don't know if maybe the extra base height might be considered an issue for, say, bolt action. Because then your guys are technically standing taller than everything else. So that would actually, in theory, affect line. Well, not in theory. That would affect line of sight mechanics. Technically, might not make that much of a difference though, because in the end of the day, you can both still see each other to an equal degree. Still, it's interesting. It's an interesting thing to ponder. Okay, let's glue you. I love chain swords. They're dumb. They don't make sense. They're impractical. But they're cool. We love the chain sword. Oh, you know what I think I'm excited for? Space Marine 2. I'm not completely certain I'm excited for it, but I'm at least hopeful. Again, I don't like Primaris, and they made him a Primaris, so I don't like that. I also see it playing exactly the same as the first game for both better and worse. Space Marine is a lot of fun. Space Marine is great. But my issue with Space Marine is really simple. I wish there were more guns on the enemy side. It's kind of a hack and slash game with shooter elements, which is perfect for 40k. But like, if you look at the tabletop, every single orc boy is carrying a gun. You look at Space Marine, and most of them aren't, and I don't like that. I wouldn't be surprised if part of the reason, apart from just general game reasons, though, is I thought about it, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them kept shooting each other in the back of the head. So that would be a problem. But yeah, they have specific units that are carrying guns, and everything else is just carrying melee weapons, and that's not it's not really how orcs fight. And with 2, you've got the same thing happening. We're just fighting Tyranids now, from what I've seen. But it ends up being the same thing. I'm just not a big fan of that, especially because like we do have an entire unit for NIDs that are range based. So I would like to see more of a combination arms mechanics. Plus 2 is 2's UI elements are too much from what I've seen. They're a little bit too in your face. It takes away from the experience for me, for what I've seen. But like the game's not out yet. We'll see what happens when it actually launches. I'm still excited. I hope they bring back the multiplayer. I hope it's good. I actually had a lot of fun with Space Marines multiplayer. When are we going to get a new Tau game? I want one of two things. I want them to either remake Fire Warrior and make it actually good, or I want a game where we get to pilot a Crisis suit. Because Crisis suits are cool. But yeah, Fire Warrior itself is not very good. And it's unfortunate. We got a first-person shooter, and it wasn't just a Space Marine game. It was the Tau of all things, but it just wasn't very good. It was very interesting, though. Speaking of that witch, because that was one of many so-called Halo killers back in the day, which got me thinking of Killzone. Because Killzone had a bit of a hard time because people labeled it as a Halo killer. And Killzone never wanted to be a Halo killer, but that's what people started labeling it as. And it gave him a bit of a tough time. Killzone's really cool, though. I do recommend the Killzone games. At least the first couple. I don't know if I recommend Shadowfall, but Shadowfall's got the problem of it's kind of just a PS4 tech demo. Honestly, which isn't great. But yeah, 1 through 3 is pretty cool. Or I guess 1 and 2 really are really cool. I need to play 3 though. Actually, I need to play 2. I've played 1. I haven't played the other ones. But those are cool games. It's like a top-down game I need to play too on the PSP. Can't remember what style it was, but I have to give that a try. That, I believe, was a direct sequel to the first game. As a weird PSP title. It's interesting when they do stuff like that. Because I find that basically Doom's game. Which is unfortunate. I love the PSP. But, you know, it's... I get it. Consoles are expensive. How many people are actually going to buy something like a PSP? They ain't cheap. Well, okay, the PSP wasn't that bad, but the Vita was the one that was a big issue price-wise. I love my Vita. But, like, I understand why people didn't buy them. They came out here with the Vita, and they're like, hey, what if we just charge people almost the same amount that we're charging them for PS3s? Like, yeah, that's a little rough. I got mine later. I got mine after the thing was pretty much dead. Hello? There we go. Okay. My glue is drying up on the drying up in the spout. Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. Are we good? You staying? Yes, you are. Awesome. Okay, there we go. Maybe? It's being a little weird. That should be good, though. Yeah, that should be good. That's going to set fine. Well, let's go ahead and base you. And then we've got... two down. As soon as we get a base on you. I think this is the same size base. Yeah, the 32 millimeter base. Should be that one. I'm surprised it doesn't state which size it is on the thing, but it's one of these. Now I'm really appreciating that little diagram, the little scale diagram. Okay. Let's make you based. You are now based and red-pilled. Okay. Now we're going to set you aside next to the Canonus to let everything set and dry. We have 2 whole models finished. Hooray! And unfortunately, it's already been over 2 hours. So I think we're going to call it there. As much as I kind of actually want to go and do one more. I was about to say the next one doesn't look too bad. But like I'm gonna take forever on that standard. I just know I am. So yeah, I think we are gonna call it there. This has been fun though. I always enjoy my builds. I like the models. Model kits are fun. But we'll set some more time aside next time, I think, so I can do a little bit more work on this stuff. I kind of forgot how long I take. Just a little bit. Or I guess more accurately, I thought it wouldn't be as bad with the 40k instead of Gunpla. Because it's like, oh, well, they've got less pieces per model, and then I end up taking longer on each model than I do on each piece for Gunpla. So it balanced itself back out. I'm so happy to have sisters. It's I like the Sisters of Battle. I think they're very cool. So I'm glad to be putting these together. And I can't wait. I'm pretty sure I can run them alongside my Imperial Guard. I think there's rules for like allied detachments and whatnot. So I gotta pick up. I don't know what I gotta pick up. Probably the Codex. I don't know which books highlight that, but I'm gonna have to figure that out. You know what a chainsword is? A chainsword is an excuse to pull out blood for the blood god. That's what a chainsword is. Alright. Well, I'm going to leave those to set. I'm probably going to go grab food or something. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's it. So, thanks for tuning in for those who came to drop by. And we'll have to see. I'll probably be able to get back to this next week, get some more work done. But I will see you guys then. Till then, I will see you. Take care. Bye-bye.